golly, in short sentences, let me think. I mean, my experience has been incredibly positive, I have to say. You know, technically, I'm a very old man and I should have retired. And the very fact I am still here, although I will retire, the very fact I'm still here says it's got to have been amazingly positive. And not just for me, you know, the very first foster family that I supported way back, 31st of January 2001, they're still with us. And that says probably more than 1,000 words can. You know, the fact that people come to team and a lot of the staff have that longevity of service, which is great, because I'm afraid the world of social work isn't quite like that at the minute. It seems to me that a lot of people do come and very quickly, I suppose, burn out, which is incredibly sad. But in our world of I know we're lucky on the private side, but nevertheless, you know, I see us very much as we are a social enterprise. We're not like most of the other fostering agencies, or virtually all the other fostering agencies. And the fact that people stay with us and enjoy the experience of being part of team is amazing. Golly, that's a really hard question, because when I started out, I was the only social worker. So I supported the families we had, so got to know all the children. I mean, my job's very different now, but back then, all the young people that came to team were really supported by the families that I supervised. So, and every one of them was inspirational. You know, I'd be really hard pushed to do that. I can say, back in those early days, our very first young person, I remember when she came to us, she was 12 and a half, and she had had very little schooling. People didn't know whether she was intelligent or not, because there was no yardstick. She just had never, somehow she'd managed not to be in school. And, you know, by the time she'd left us, I remember there was a business award that she achieved. She got on television, she went to London, and that was just amazing. And that's our very first young person. What an achievement. But I suppose one thing, if you were saying one thing, yes, I won't say the name, but a young man came to us, and we have days of achievement once a year where we celebrate, and it can be anything. You know, they get a certificate, our young people, that says they kept their bedroom tidy for a week. Yay! Or, you know, they're doing some amazing thing, building an orphanage in Peru or whatever. It's just amazing. And this young man comes along and he got his certificate. He'd been with us 8 months. And when he got his certificate, out of a little carrier bag, he produced actually a much nicer certificate in a frame and in glass. And it said to his foster carers and how marvellous they were. And I remember, you know, cue tears. And I remember him saying, what a difference being fostered by his family and being part of team had made to him. And I asked him afterwards, after I had a good cry, because it was just so lovely, I asked him what was special about this family. And he actually said, if you like, Douglas, I'll write down exactly what it was. And I was just looking the other day, because these things are so relevant. And what he said was important. He'd had 8 foster families. And when he came to us, he felt as if, he actually uses the word, he was treated the same as other children in the family, their birth children and other foster children. And it was really important for him to feel included. And what he said was, he said, you know, they believe in me, so I do now as well. And that was just, it was lovely. Also, he talked about, really important this, they always told him it wasn't his fault. And I just thought that was massively, there was a couple of things like that about they always fight my corner. And I think that's important. But the biggest thing, and this is where I really sort of didn't cope well on the day, he'd actually said he'd had all these foster carers and he was 11. And when he came to us, he was about to celebrate his 11th birthday. And it was the first time he'd ever had a birthday celebration. The first time he'd ever had a cake, a party, and been made to feel really special. And he always stands out. And I think it was when he produced the certificate that said, I'm so grateful for being here in a way. But if I'm going to get a certificate, then boy, should my foster carers get one too. So that was one of those moments. But so many others, so many others. I think that's a biggie for team, that you never work in isolation. I would love to think that you would always think of the team, the staff and your supervising support worker as massively important, but to also have a carer support group who are just so, well, I think they're inspirational, but the way they support each other. So new carers coming in very quickly feel they have a buddy, and that we match them up with a family, and straight away there's support there. And I hear, and I've always heard over the years, that there's lots of things that are good about team, you know, our activities, our care support group, all of that stuff. But it's that bit about the support. It's about feeling that you're not alone. You know, and if you need to pick up the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning, there is somebody, you're never isolated. And I think that's massively important. Because of the foster carers who, they know how I feel about them. They do. I don't need to say that, they just do. Because of that, I mean, I am going to retire early next year, and it's going to be the hardest thing by a mile. Most people, especially social workers, get to the time where, you know, they're counting down the days. There's notches on the wall that say, only, you know, I'm doing the opposite. I'm really going to struggle, because then everybody I work with are more than just colleagues, they're friends. There's no doubt about that. Wow, what difference has it made, Collie? Well, it's taken up a lot of my time. What difference has it made? I think I've put the job first. I think when I was a social worker, I've done a lot of other stuff. I've been involved in theatre groups, I've been involved with the National Trust, and I needed to do that, particularly as a social worker, to be able to say, I need, you know, it gets to a Friday night, your head's in a shed, you're battered, bruised, and I needed to do something else. And if I didn't do that, I think I would have gone, well, people might say I'm crazy now, but I've gone more crazy. Whereas with team, it gets to a Friday and I think, oh, tomorrow's training. We've got skills to foster course. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, we're having a half day training with some of our young people, with our education team and with our placements team. I'm looking forward to that. Once upon a time, I would have thought, oh God, it's the weekend and it's encroaching in my life. Now, my life and team all just feel integrated, really. So it's somebody recently said, one of the team managers said, if you slice me open, I say team inside. And I don't know, I'm sure that's not true, but there isn't this sort of, oh, it's a job. It isn't a job. And it's and I'm no different from any of, let's say, the foster carers. I don't know what I would call it with them, maybe a vocation. It's so much more than just looking after children. It's a complete way of life. Now, my way of life is obviously it's different, but it's still team.